All right, this is our AACG meetup, and we are at the Corning Museum of Glass. Today is December the 11th, 2020. And as you can see, we have a lot of our AACG members here. And I am going to turn this over to Megan Bunnell, who is actually the buyer at the Corning Museum of Glass, the shops at the Corning Museum of Glass. And she has orchestrated this presentation for us today with Claire Kelly doing a demo, and all hosted by our good friend Susie Silbert, who is the long title, but the modern curator at Corning Museum of Glass. So you guys want to take it away?
Sure. Hi, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Susie, are you out there? I would like her to take over and do a quick introduction for Claire, if she doesn't mind.
I'm here. I went to hide in a corner, so it wasn't so loud.
But your audio's not so good, so you may want to not hide in the corner.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'm trying to focus and talk over other people. Hopefully the audio is better over here. I am so thrilled to be here and introducing this demo by Claire Kelly. Claire is an artist that I have known and followed for a bunch of years. We first met in 2005, I think, when she was doing a residency at the Energy Exchange in Burnsville, which is near the Penland School of Crafts, and I was living there. And you guys, I'm sure you are familiar with Claire's work. One of the things that I love the most about it, and that I've loved to see develop over time, is her really sensitive and transformative use of cane and patterning, and which a lot of people use cane, a lot of people use pattern, but I think are few people that use it in such a sensitive and well-developed kind of way as Claire does. And then in her new work and the work that she is making today in front of us, and what is in the shops, such a playful, so much life and so much play in what she's making, which I also really appreciate. So I figure that I'm supposed to be like a color commentator today, like in a baseball game. Good thing I like baseball and I listen to a lot of baseball, so hopefully I'll know when to jump in. But I'm gonna say let's see what she's up to. So I'm passing the mic to wherever it goes, or at least the spotlight. But if you guys have questions throughout, put them in.
Let's see, Helen's got the compressed air and she's just cooling it if it needs it. Glassmaking, it's all about temperature management. Now they've made this little glass post. Now watch this. Just cuts it right off. All right, we've got some new folks joining us. Welcome to everyone up top there. This is Claire Kelly at the bench with the torch. And she's going to make a beautiful glass box.
Good night.
The way that she stretches out the legs on this, she's got a little piece of glass in her hand, a little glass rod. We actually call that a cane. So she has a little cane, and she makes a neat little, it's like a flat spot with a little dimple in it. And that flat spot, that's going to be her post, more or less. That's what she's going to pull that molten glass with. So now she'll take, once she has that little rod there, that little cane, she'll spot heat where she wants it to stretch and pull from. And then she'll give it a little flash. Chris will flash the piece. That's what we call the piece, just pushing it into the furnace, maintaining temperature, maintaining the correct heat. And then go torching again. And you can see the ring of heat that it leaves behind. Because she's using the torch, it's always going to be a little bit hotter right there. So now this might be the time that she's. Oh, it looks like she'll do it one more time. Maybe twice, I'm not sure. This might be the last heat with the torch, I think so. Because now we can see she's getting ready. She's got the little cane in her hand. See how she plunges it in there? You can almost see how it dips right in. And then she stretches it out. And she likes to have it face towards her so she can see the profile as it pulls out. Again, Helen with the air, if it's needed. And I love this part. Just that little breaks free. So there is a small little piece of clear on the tip there. And that's okay.
Sorry.
All right, so those must be the front legs that she's working on. I don't know if she'll stretch it more or not. She's obviously very detail oriented in a piece like this. So everything is very deliberate, very specific. She might stretch the one out and say, oh, while it still has heat, I might want to stretch a little more. The thing about when you do a project like this, when you've got the stretching aspect of glass like this, once you stretch it, you can't really, oh, it's too long, I'm going to push it back down. You can always re-stretch it a little bit, and actually she's doing that right now. You don't want to overstretch it. There you can see how that part just wiggles right off. It literally breaks. She's breaking the glass, but in a very purposeful manner. All right, looks like you'll be able to get some nice pictures with that camera. Anybody's feel free, if you're in the crowd, take lots of pictures and videos. It's always welcome. You can tag the museum on any of your social networks that you like, wherever you're logged into, whether it's Instagram or Facebook, Twitter.
I'm going to try and
Flickr, TripAdvisor.
So I'm just going to jump in while it's quiet for a little moment and say I love seeing this. I love seeing this little creature
obviously
come
right
to life.
now, the body of
That's pretty great.
Well, the whole fox in general, then.
And it looks so lively, this guy. This is my first time being in the hot shop or in the amphitheater at all since the pandemic started. It's pretty interesting to see it. And I think, Reeman, I bet a bunch of you guys have watched our demos before. I hope that you have. Keep watching them. I kind of never get tired of seeing that, like inside the furnace view. And I love seeing, like, I've been watching people sculpt. The way that sculpting glass has developed, even over the time, the 20 years that I've been in glass is pretty impressive. You guys watch it probably even more closely than I do in terms of how everybody is developing their techniques, but it's pretty great.
Take the yeah. So there's a thick vessel, but it's not real thin like a drinking glass, but it's probably a little bit thicker than a ball jar or something like that, like a jelly jar. But it has a little bit of weight to it. If they get too thin, you can't really get in there and heat it and stretch it. And then the glass, when it's real thin, it also wants to kind of, when you heat it, it wants to collapse a little bit. And you need to have that structure. This is something Claire's developed. This isn't something that you come up with overnight. This is something that's taken her career to develop these beautiful animals and figuring out how to get that beautiful kind of a whimsical, just really simplified but elegant, When you're a drawing artist, when you do a lot of drawing, you might have a lot of gesture, or another artist might be very detailed. Like when you look at a face drawn and you've got every little wrinkle and speckle of the eye and everything like that. And then other artists, you could tell it's the same person with just a few lines, you know, just that whimsy and that gestural look to it. So this, while you won't see every, you know, hair of the fox, but you've got the very identifiable color pattern. You'll have the big, beautiful tail, a couple eyes, a little, and you can see with the snout here, you know, and there's necessarily no mouth and no hooves and things like that, or paws rather. I don't think a fox has hooves. But the gesture.
So while we're watching this awesome demo, I was wondering if you guys would like to see an example of the final piece. So I'm going to go ahead and show that for you. Bear with me here. We will get there. Okay, so I'm hoping that everyone can now see this is the example of what she's going to make in the final piece. It's going to be a little different because obviously this piece is already made. And then we have a couple other slides of some of Claire's work that is available. Claire is very excited to be able to do this demonstration today, and she got a lot of pieces ready and she was so excited to share with you. So thanks everyone for joining in today. And I think it's good to go back to the main video.
I love seeing those though, Megan. So let's take a break. Let's take a break throughout this and show some more of her work. It's really good.
Yeah, anytime, just let me know when you want to see more stuff. I'll throw up some more slides because we actually have quite a robust deck of other complimentary slides that Claire shared with us that are really fun too.
Susie, were you going to show the audience that there actually is an audience there at Corning, or?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I didn't want to take over from Megan, but I will just flip my camera around. I'm on my cell phone. If I can figure out. Oh, here we go. Yeah, just so there are people. Feel a little funny showing them, but anyhow, there are folks, and you can see that it's very socially distant. And the museum tracks carefully how many people come in and all that kind of stuff, where they can sit. So there are people here, and that's where you hear G. Brian narrating to the audience. That's who he's narrating to. Also, bonus fact, fun fact. Do you know who in this Zoom call G. Brian, our narrator, went to high school with? I think I've got that right. If you've got the answer, you can put it in the chat. And if you are that person, I mean, I guess you can put it in the chat too.
We're all in suspense, Susie.
Well, it seems, yes, this is one of the most exciting facts of my early studio glass, not so early, my own history in studio glass knowledge. Aaron Shea and G. Brian from the Corning Museum of Glass went to high school together. Very nice.
Yeah, we did, and Corey too. We all went to Lasser High School in Bloomfield Hills decades ago, and we were great friends. And it's amazing how our lives collide in the future in our careers.
Yeah. Yeah.
We had a lot of ceramics classes together, believe it or not.
I didn't know you.
He was really good. I was not.
You know, I just wrote an email like that to an artist that I studied with, a ceramic artist that I studied with at Penland a long time ago. I wrote it this morning. I was like, well, I think I wasn't a very good student of yours, but I found a way to contribute that fits a little bit better. So I guess both of us, Aaron.
That's funny. Hey, we found our roles. It works out.
Yes.
Great.
Yes. All right. Well, I don't know, what else do you guys want to hear me say right now? I'll show you another cool thing if I'm still on the screen, which is, have you ever seen the the back, like behind the scenes of the amphitheater hot shop. It's got all this, everybody's signatures that have demoed, which is pretty neat. I don't spend that much time back here. It feels like a clubhouse and I get pretty excited every time I do. So, you know, showing you the behind the scenes that I am also excited about. All right.
Especially on the right there, you can see even where the thickness is of the window itself. It's actually quite thin. It's maybe a ½ inch thick. It's a window that doesn't melt in a glass melting furnace, which is kind of unusual. Glass that doesn't melt in a glass melting furnace, and that's because of the type of glass it is. It's called fused silica. It has a melting point of 3,300 degrees, and that means it doesn't melt at 2,100 degrees. In fact, 2,100 is the annealing point. So it's hard like a window pane at 2,100 degrees. And it's the same glass they used on the Bell X-1 when Chuck Yeager, he's just in the news. Chuck Yeager on the Bell X-1 there, broke the sound barrier. NASA used it on the space shuttle, they still do. For your viewing panels or your windows of your space shuttle. And today, folks across the world love it because it's the core to optical fiber optic, how the internet works. If you like high-speed, you like high-speed internet? She likes fused silica. Now, we've got a question. Boy, you want to come, can you yell it from out there? It might be hard to hear. Well, can you come down and thanks. There's a lot of noise up here. We've got the hum and the roar of the furnaces, the torches. We've got 2 flames. Why do we have the 2 flames? Do you like the flames? I can't actually hear what your question is. Oh, why are they going? Excellent. Well, we'll call these pilot lights. And so you can see how when Claire uses the torch, she picks up the handle of the torch, and then she'll use this flame right here to light the torch that she wants. Because if you had, let's say you had like a small striker or a lighter, you'd have to put your hand very close to the flame, and that would be pretty dangerous. But by having this flame just on right here, we use it as a pilot light, and then we're able to quickly, easily, and safely light our glass torches. Our flame-working torches, our handheld flame-working torches. Pretty neat. Now these flame-working torches that we're using are on what's called a gas saver. So every time she sets it down, you can see how she sets it on the lever, and the lever closes the valves. There's, on the folks inside in the amphitheater here can see the green and orange. One's for oxygen, one's for gas. We're using natural gas. And those flames reach about 4,000 degrees on the torch. So very, very hot.
Torch on the tail.
Taking frequent reheats, quick
Putting a Band-Aid on.
overall flashes, and you can see how she was spot heating the glass and then gave it a little stretch, gave it a pull. There she goes, lighting the torch. Spot heating just the part she wants to shape and move. So the glass, it has to be hot and molten to be malleable. She can do that specifically.
Jason, how hot does the
torch? Now, one of the things that's really fun is if you use your imagination, you could imagine lots of different animals being created from that. And in fact, if I had asked you right now, I said, which part is the, if we didn't know we were making a fox, you might say, oh, you're making something with a long neck. But again, that'll actually be the tail. That'll be the tail to our piece.
Jason, can you hear me?
Just join us. We've got Claire Kelly here. Claire and Chris
I can
Rochelle,
hear you,
Helen
Marilee. Go
Tickler,
ahead and ask the
Amanda.
question and I'll get the answer for you.
Okay, I just was curious about when he's heating one part, or when she's heating one part like the tail, how hot is the rest of the piece?
See where the glass is the hottest on the screen, just it has that brightest glow to it. Just stretch and pull it again. You can't stretch it too quickly. If you overstretch it, you can't put it
Susie
back.
is retrieving
So it's
an
always
answer
better
for
to go
us.
slow and easy. Take your time. I mean, she's not going slow. She's moving right along. Every heat, we're getting an action. Something's happening. And just what I'm saying, you can't, work it too quickly. Can't be in a rush. We have a question from the crowd. Yes. So how hot is the overall piece while she's heating? So she's heating the one area with the torch, but how hot is the rest of the vessel itself? Well, the rest of the vessel, we know it's above about 1,000 degrees. And we know that because if it's cooled below 1,000 degrees, it'll actually shatter, it'll crack and break while we're making it. In fact, while they're using the torch, the one spot they're torching can be so hot that it's molten and malleable. They're stretching and pulling it. Let's see, one of the little legs there, it gets too cold, it could crack and break. And that would be a bad thing. So what we're going to do now is make sure that the temperature is just right. And that flashing process maintains the temperature at about 1,000 degrees. She'll use this pick to heat and make a small opening. There we go, small little opening. There we go, all right. Yes, another question, fantastic.
Flags all around.
Some longtime Claire Kelly fans want to know. Okay, the question is, how long has Claire been working on the piece at the bench, and how long was the setup for the piece? Claire, how long does it take you to make the setup for this piece? About an hour before we actually even got started. Okay. Yep. So before Claire came in today, she had about an hour into making what we call the cup or the color blank for this piece. And so it looks like, oh yeah, it's just, in this case, it looks red, but again, it's a bright orange of the fox with the white. But it takes about an hour to make that setup. And then we've been working on the piece since, let's see, about a half an hour at this point, 35 minutes. So to get to where we are, it's about an hour and 35 minutes into the process and into the piece. To make the color pattern, it's, if you're familiar with glass making, there's a technique called encalmo. You might think that this is an encalmo technique where you join one colored bubble to another colored bubble in half, and you get half of the piece one color and half of the piece the other. And actually, this is not done that way though. When I first looked at it, I thought, oh, it's an encalmo. And if you're watching at home or looking, you've got a phone, you could just use your other device and Google encalmo, and you'll see how those, in fact, it's on the Corning website. You'll see how that is two bubbles joined together. And it'll give you a similar result in that, in fact, for the folks in the amphitheater here. Two different colored pieces joined together in encalmo. So imagine one half's red and the other half is white. You can kind of figure out how we'd make that, but this was done with what we call cane, and cane look like pencils, but they're glass. So she took about 10 red cane, 10 white cane, and on a plate, a Pasteurelli plate, melted and fused them all together. So half the plate has red glass, half the plate has white glass. I keep saying red, but it's orange. And then rolling that up, just like if you had a piece of paper and you took the two ends and you folded it into a tube. You do that, but with a blowpipe. So now you have a hollow tube on a blowpipe, cinch down the one end, and you've got a bubble. Now, this is an important part and a precarious part of the process. You're going to transfer the piece to a hollow blowpipe. That's why they made that hole. They made a small opening so that they could take a blowpipe and with a hollow tube, attach it to that bottom. Now they have to, you can see how they've got two pipes, but only one piece. So now it's time to literally break the first and original blowpipe free. Timing, heat, temperature, that's why we've got this bigger fluffy torch, propane torch. evening out the temperature so that with a light little tap, a crack of the blowpipe, the original one, the piece will break free. Right where she puts that drip of water. Look at that, a nice easy job. What do you say we give her a nice round of applause for a job well done? All right. I don't know, it doesn't really seem to matter how long you've been blowing glass for. You always cross your fingers a little bit, you know, it's like, it's a very precarious part of the process. But you can see how by changing the direction, working on, in our case, the bottom back half of the fox, and now flipping it around so that we can work on the top half, it really starts to come to life for me. You can really start to see it now. Using this larger torch again to spot heat just the very front. When we push the piece into the glory hole, the reheating furnace, when you push the piece in there, it gives it pretty much an overall uniform heat. So everything is going to get hot while it's in there. In the case of our sculpture, we don't need everything hot. We really only need that small area in the front, the head, the neck, the snout. We need that area to get hot. So Claire can deliberately use her flame working skills to use this torch to spot heat only what she needs to move. But now Helen's taken over for all the heating. Chris did it all on the blowpipe. Helen will do it all now on the secondary pipe. And that's a good way to, oh, we got a nice shot of the fox again on the screen. That's a nice way to divvy up the workload. Standing in front of that 2100 degree furnace, they'll divvy up the workload. That's something you'll see often in professional glassmaking studios. Looks like they're going to modify the bench a little bit, slide everything back. Again, Claire's a guest artist here. This isn't her studio that she normally works out of. Just like if you were to go to somebody else's studio, you know, everything would be adjusted a little bit different than what you're used to. Everybody's done a little work in someone else's kitchen, and you know, different knives, different pots and pans. If you're used to an electric range and then you go to a gas, everything's going to take a little adjustment. Glass blowing studio is no different. This studio here at the Corning Museum of Glass, we're in the amphitheater. We're actually on the old footprint here. This is the footprint of the Steuben Crystal Factory. Glass has been made on this footprint since 1951. Steuben Crystal Factory was founded in 1903 on the other side of the river. And when the museum opened in 1951, they brought the glass over here as well. All right, any other questions from the crowd? Maybe somebody's curious about something? No? All right. Ooh, look at her stretch the top there. So this little knob that she's going to actually cut off, that'll be, oh, there it goes. That'll be scrap glass. Now we won't shovel that scrap glass back into the furnace because that would contaminate all of the clear glass that's in the furnace. It will get recycled on a more industrial scale. Actually, you can imagine the glass studios here. There's, well, if we count the studios, hot shops, and all of our summertime hot shops, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hot shops at the museum that can run. Not to mention a couple of traveling outreach studios. So when we make scrap glass that we can't remelt, we have the county, we have Steuben County. They pick it up, we put it into a separate hopper, and they use silica as an aggregate in concrete and asphalt. So you probably drove on some of our mistakes to get here. Yes, excellent, a question. Fantastic.
Thinking about years.
The question is, where did Claire get her initial glass education? Do you want to answer this, Susie? Okay, I'm going to give Susie a microphone, and Susie can answer this question for everybody. I know some of the details, but I think that Susie knows all of the details. So Let's see on the microphone. Let's see if this one should we go. Okay, here you go, folks. Susie Silver.
Great. I'm not sure if I know all of them, so we can
We'll work together.
we can play it off together. I think that Claire's beginning glass blowing was at Alfred University, just down the way from here.
Yeah, Alfred University is about an hour down the road from the museum, and they have a very prestigious glass and ceramics, not only engineering, but art program. They have the largest glass program in the country, and as I said before, it's quite prestigious.
It absolutely is. It's a really good technical glass program, and I think you can see that in Claire's work now. And Claire's actually from upstate New York, so that's an exciting thing. And then she worked at the museum. She worked at the studio, the glassworking school of the museum, in her first job right out of college. And so it's pretty much a nice full circle thing that she is back in Corning and has actually moved to Corning pretty recently.
Yeah, she just moved back to Corning this summer, and so it's kind of a nice pilgrimage back home, if you will, from working all over, working in Rhode Island. And I thought maybe she went to RISD because I know she was in Rhode Island, but actually she was working for a glass artist named Toots Zinski, and then came back to Corning because of the fantastic glass family that's already here. Makes a lot of sense.
Yes. Oh,
Any other questions for Susie? All right. Well, we can, if you're looking online, I know a lot of people, they use multiple devices when they watch something. They'll also Google things, and you can look at the museum's website. You can see there's right now, as of today, in December of 2020, there's 6 pieces that are on the museum's website. You can find them at shops.cmog.org, shops.cmog.org, where you can look up the different pieces that she has, and you can see the beautiful colors. Right now, again, while the piece is hot, the colors are quite dull. I kept referring to this as being red and white because when I look at it, I keep saying red and white, but it's actually a beautiful bright orange. And you can see some of the fun and whimsical work that she makes, and you can even purchase one, as you should. So yeah, check that out, shops.cmog.org.
don't want to jump in and mess that one up. And I did just want to add, if you don't mind, you can wave me off if you mind. One of the things that's really interesting about Claire's work is the kind of glass that she uses. Can you tell us, G, about what kind of glass you're using right now?
Well, we're using what in the the glass field we refer to as a soft glass. So it has a high coefficient of expansion. The main ingredients are silica sand, soda ash, and limestone. She buys the color already pre-made. You need quite the facility in the factory to make individual colors. And so traditionally in most studios, pretty much every studio will have a furnace full of clear glass, and then you'll add your color glass that you already purchased. Because if you have one furnace and you want to melt, let's say, cobalt blue, everything that you might make for a month would have to be cobalt blue or white or blue or green. So traditionally studio artists melt clear, and then they'll buy that color already made and apply it and use it. And it's different elements from the periodic table that give us the different colors. So you need a lot of chemistry. You need a lot of things, not just an art degree on which colors look pretty together. You need all that chemistry and background into using the different metallic compounds, oxides, chlorides, to make your colored glass.
And so here she's using the kind of regular glass that people use in most blowing studios. But in other times, in fact, last year, Claire was a resident at the studio, which is just across the parking lot, where you can make your own glass, but also we host artists for month-long residencies. And there, she was experimenting with a different kind of glass called effitre, which is really brightly colored, a lot of range of color, and it's what people use when they're using soft glass on a torch, which is another way of working glass. Not such a big thing, you don't need so many people, it's a smaller interaction. And Claire was experimenting with that glass in the hot shop.
Yeah, quite interesting.
Yeah, pretty nice.
That glass effigy, they come out of Murano, Italy, actually. So a lot of folks are familiar with Italian or Venetian glass. Murano is really a hub of glass making. And this glass is made, the effigy glass is made in Murano. And if you ever, I don't know if you'll ever get a chance, but if you ever get a chance to go, pop your head in the door because it's a really neat factory and just the way they approach glass and making color. It's really a fantastic opportunity.
And
All right, I'll make another one.
Looks like Claire's, yeah, putting it on the eyes. And the way she puts on the eyes is really, I think, really fascinating. And so see how delicate, you can see on the screen now, you can see how crisp the eyes are, how round, how perfect. And to make that, she uses, again, that flame working technique of balling up the glass on the end of the cane. And then she'll apply, right now you can see we've got the one eye. And I don't know if it's possible to get a close-up of her making it, probably not, but she's using a small torch, a little ranger, spot heating and melting a round ball on a black cane. And then here, we'll see her apply that.
Great, now turn that way.
So with her left hand, the torch, with her right hand, you see that little ball on the end? And then she'll actually break it free. And this keeps a very clean,
Fire polish those.
very clean look to the eye. Very deliberate, very exact. Fantastic. You can see the flame of the furnace on some of the glory hole shots there. Sometimes you can see we've got that furnace turned down. Normally, during the museum's demonstrations, we'll keep that, now when we're making vases, bowls, things like that, we'll keep that furnace around 2100 degrees, sometimes even as high as 2200 degrees. And right now it's set at just over 1900 degrees, so it's quite a bit cooler because we don't really want to get the glass hot. There you can see the flame looking the tail there. What we're looking to do is just maintain that temperature. We're not looking to keep we're not really using that furnace to melt and get the glass molten in there. We're doing that all back at the bench. Again, all this flame working happening right here in the hot shop today at the Corning Museum of Glass. Torch from Chris Rochelle as well on the punting. We've got a couple torches going on.
I'm gonna put the ball in the nose after this next class.
Something I don't know if you folks can tell is all the communication that's been going on. I don't know how well you can hear that from where you're at, but there's a lot of communication just about every heat and every turn of the piece. Claire's saying, okay, I need you to, face the eyes up. I need you to put the tail up, put the tail down. I'm going to heat the glass. I need you to do this so that I'm ready for the next step to do that. And so something about it being in the hot shop, you're very clear and communicative about what you need to have happen. And traditionally in any setting, there's one person in charge known as the gaffer. The gaffer is the head of the team. In this case, obviously, Claire's the gaffer, so it's her piece. She's in charge of the piece. She's calling the shot. She's setting the tempo. And then it's up to Chris and Helen to make sure that every goal of hers is met. Now this little ball that she'll add here, this won't become part of the piece. That acts more like a little handle. So right now, the piece, if you remember from the screenshot of the fox earlier, the fox was quite long and stretched out. But right now, everything's quite compact. In fact, I think that Claire would be very good at sculpting a lot of different animals, huh? You'll see those on, when you log on to the museum's website, shops.cmog.org, you'll see a lot of those. There's different whimsical animals that she makes. You'll see them all.
so another question. We got a bunch of folks virtually too today, so it's pretty exciting to have. It's a real 2020 moment to have people here and people online asking questions. And we had one which is, how can artists tell when it's time to flash the piece again? How do they know?
How do the artists know when it's time to heat the piece, and how do they know when it's getting too cold? You can tell they're not using any type of pyrometers or thermometers. A lot of it is that sixth sense. You know from experience. That's how you know. You know from experience. And I don't know exactly how long Claire's been making glass, over 20 years though. So she has a lot of experience. She has a lot of practice. Believe it or not, she's had pieces break, right? Pieces have gotten too hot. They've stretched out too much. They've gotten too cold. They've cracked and they've broken. So what you're seeing today may be only 2 hours worth of work, but it's really 20 years of experience that allows her to make this piece in 2 hours. Now, again, she's assisted by a great team. Helen's been making glass over 25 years. Chris has been making glass over 20 years. So you're looking at 60 or 70 years of experience to make this 2-hour demonstration a reality.
And G, that idea, that sense, being able to sense when the glass is ready to reheat, that time that it takes to develop that skill. I think it goes to something you were saying before. You were talking about how making color involves all this chemistry. That sense is actually understanding how physics works. How heat gets into the glass, the way that glass moves. And one of the things that always impresses me about artists that work in this incredible material is the way that they know in their body chemistry and physics that they might not be able to write all the formulas down.
Yeah, you might say, how do you, and you just, I look at it and that's when I know that it's, it's like, oh, I pull it and I just have this light feeling. So I know that's not ready yet. And then you take it, heat it for about 4 seconds and it'll be ready. It's one of those things you can really only get with time spent doing what you love and the passion that you have to do it.
And another thing about heat, I'm not sure that you said, but I think I learned at the Corning Museum of Glass in a demo in maybe 2007, 2008. I must have known it, sensed it before, but I didn't have words for it, which is that that things glow over 1,000 degrees, right? Is that right? And under 1,000 degrees, they don't really glow.
They're not going to have much glow to them, yeah. In fact, earlier when we were making work with Claire, she said, if you see the true color coming out, like if you see the bright orange coming out, we need to heat that piece immediately, because as soon as you even see, we're about to see the true color, it'll be too late. The piece will actually crack and break. And so that's why you see Helen taking a lot of quick, short flashes of heat, just maintaining temperature, making sure everything's perfect. Yeah, you never want to see the true color of the piece until it's room temperature. And in our case, that won't be until at least tomorrow, possibly the next day. I'm not sure the length of the annealing that this will need. Now, the annealing is the slow cooling. So when we're finished with this, it'll go into a kiln that's 1,000 degrees. Only 1,000 degrees. It won't move around. It won't change shape if it's only 1,000 degrees. So we'll put this into that kiln. It'll cool down. Now, a traditional vase or a bowl, I know more about, and we'll put that on about a 12-hour cooling. A sculpture like this, she might want a little bit more, just to really guarantee that the inside, the outside, the thickest part is cooling as slowly and evenly as the thinnest part. That's what's important. Look at the way she's giving it a little bit of that curve, really brings it to life. Remember, maybe a couple of heats ago, it was pretty straight and fairly static. Just those couple heats, couple light little turns and twists, brings it to life and gives it that whimsy. I call it the whimsy that I just love so much. When you look at something and you go, oh, that's just got it right there. I think she's pretty happy with the way that the gesture is of the piece. And then it looks like it might be time to clean up the snout there, the nose a little bit. We've still got that little handle, that little ball that she added. She'll need to heat that up, clean up the tip. Take care, folks. And then also the last one we made together, she cleaned up the very tip of the tail at the very end too. I don't know if she'll do that on this one or not. We made one before as a team. This is our first time working with Claire as a team. So we made one as a little kind of, get to know the team, a little meet and greet for the team. And then this is our second one together. Obviously, the longer you work together as a team, the better off you're going to be as a team. But glass making, I've often heard it compared to a dance. And, you know, if you dance the foxtrot, your partner can dance the foxtrot. You might step on each other's toes a little in the beginning, but you both can do the same dance. It won't be long before you're whirling around the room together. 2 torches at a time now. Lots of flame working going on here in the hot shop. 1 torch dedicated to the punty, keeping the temperature correct. The other torch for the heating and the shaping and the sculpting.
Gee,
Yeah.
have people always used torches in the hot shop?
You know, when so I've been making glass for about 20 years, and torches in the hot shop were more for fire polishing, carton edges. Like if you cut a handle and it was a little sharp, you might use the torch to smooth out that rough edge. When you break the piece free from the blowpipe, it will be broken, so it will be sharp. You might use that torch to fire polish that sharp edge. But today we're seeing torches used in a completely new light here in the hot shop, where we're really bringing elements of pure flame working into the hot shop so that we can get these quite extensive details that have never been brought to life before. So you're seeing glassmakers from all over the world using torches like they've never used before to create things right here in the hot shop, making them larger than would be possible at the torch alone, but bringing in the detail that simply wasn't possible in the hot shop before bringing in these torches. So it's a really nice hybrid, and Claire Kelly is a wonderful example of that, bringing torches, using hot shop techniques, using flame working techniques to make things that are really her own style that nobody else, I don't even think, would be able to recreate. So very impressive glass being made here in the afternoon.
You know, I hadn't really ever kind of thought about this in exactly the same way before, but I think that you're bringing together so much, the exceptional skills in the hot shop, not just blowing, but also sculpting and using flame working techniques, and Claire, who is using advanced color techniques here.
Yeah,
with
the
the
sensibility of her colors is really spot on.
That's I think kind of culmination of things like places like here, I mean, here and other places that have, this incredible collection, deep collections. You can learn about the history of glass. You can look at the ways that people have used patterning and coloring glass through time. But then you have the studio where people are learning. There's flame working classes and hot shop.
Yeah, the education that's possible here.
It's pretty, I think that's, and then, to come and have this cross-pollination with different groups. It's a pretty cool time to be in glass.
What other museum can bring their collection to life like the Corning Museum with its different demonstrations, be it a flame working demo, a glass hot shop demo, an optical fiber demo, a glass breaking demo?
That's pretty cool.
All right, well, I'm going to go stand over by the kiln here. It looks like we're putting the final touches on. Claire is happy with the way this turned out, so it's time for the annealing process. And again, another kind of one of those moments where you have to literally break the piece free from the blowpipe or the punty. And so they're going to need to be very delicate, very careful to make sure that this is a success. Now, just because the piece comes out of the kiln, it doesn't mean that it's finished. This work will get extensive cold working and then polishing, as well as the base, and either acid etched or sandblasted to give it the correct luster. Okay, here comes a little tap. Cross your fingers. There it is. Look at that. Easy, light tap. Chris has got his safety gear on so he can get this into the kiln. Woohoo! Safe and sound, nice load. All right, there we go, folks. Beautiful job. Claire Kelly right here at the Corning Museum of Glass.
Thank you to Helen and Chris especially.
Chris Rochelle, Helen Taylor. Man, Mr. Are you going to say a few words for us? All right.
Thank you guys so much. This was a pleasure and a treat. I actually haven't made that many of these pieces, So I think that was maybe the third or the fourth one of this scale fox I've ever made. So I'm still learning a lot, and that one was definitely one of the, I feel like, moving in the direction that I really want to see them move in. So that was really a lot of fun, and I just want to thank the Corning Museum of Glass for having me, and of course the team here at the amphitheater for just being wonderful and supportive. So thank you guys very, very much, and to the AACG for coming today.
There we go. One more time for Claire Kelly.
I was like, yo, my signal's all crossed. Thank you very much.
That was absolutely fabulous. Do we have any questions or any comments or anything that anyone would like to
Hi, you guys.
Hey, Susie.
Oh, I can't hear you. Thank you. I just wanted to thank you also for joining us, for being here, for seeing Claire. I know I didn't get heard, but if you have some, I don't know, you can ask them now or we can talk a different time. In any case, thank you so much for being here. It was such a pleasure to spend a couple of hours in this virtual space with all of you. I mean, really, it is so nice to be among friends. And it was really nice to see glass being made. I haven't seen glass being made in months and months and months and months. So thank you all for this opportunity. And now I'm passing it to Megan.
Thank you, Susie, for joining us today.
Yes, thank you, Susie. I mean, it was really generous of Susie to take time out of her very busy schedule. This time of year at the museum, we're trying to get so much done in all the last few days, and her time is so valuable. So having her join us today was hugely generous of her. Really, thank you, Susie. Yeah, and do you guys have any specific questions that maybe we can help answer before we close out today?
If you have a question, you can unmute yourself. Just push the little microphone that has the red line across it, and you can ask your question. I'll give it a couple of minutes to see if anyone has some, but I agree with Susie. What a pleasure to see glass blown. It's been a long time since we've actually come together to go someplace to see glass being blown. So I want to really thank you for that, Megan, for putting this together. If we don't have any questions, then I'm going to go ahead and end the meetup. And I want to again thank everyone for being here today. And it's really been fun. And Megan Bonnell, thank you so much for your time and for orchestrating this. Susie, it's always a pleasure to see you. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day.
Thank you so much. This was great.
Yeah, nice to see everybody.
Nice to see you.
Great seeing everybody. Happy Hanukkah to those who celebrate.
Yes.
You too.
Yes. Bye, guys. Thank you.
I wore my.
I was going to say next week we have Meredith Edmondson, who's doing a program on chroma, which is an exhibit that AACG funded that's in Nashville. So we're excited about that. So we will see you guys next week. Stay safe.